The port of San Diego is as far south as you can get on the Pacific coast and still be in the USA, for the border with Mexico appears so southern in the built-up area that we once crossed it in this car and didn't know. No West Coast port could be more maritime than San Diego, so it was to the harbour that we first went. The Pullman coach that was used by Franklin D. Roosevelt on one of his whistle-stop election campaigns is by the waterside with some steam locomotives of the same era. Say what you like about the Americans, but the world will one day thank them for their mania for restoration and preservation. Across the road from here is berthed 3 famous ships restored by the Maritime Museum Association of San Diego. The Star of India, the oldest floating merchantman in the world, had a distinctly checkered career. Built in the Isle of Man and launched in 1863, she remained a Manxman sailing out of Liverpool. Within a few hours of leaving port on her maiden voyage, she collided with a Spanish brig. Her second trip was even worse, with one disaster following another. Because of that, it was over 2 years before she returned. She actually completed over 20 voyages around the world before being sold to a San Franciscan company at the turn of the century. She then worked between San Francisco and Alaska. That was until she was finally laid up in 1923. She did sail once more, and that was under her own canvas. It was on the 4th of July 1976. The old lady sailed out of San Diego just 113 years after her launching and celebrated the nation's bicentennial. The second of the ships to visit is an entirely different kettle of fish. The Berkeley launched at the latter end of the last century. She served as a ferry between San Francisco and Oakland. She carried, though not in the same comfort, nearly as many passengers as the Queen Mary. She attained her fame on the 18th of April 1906, evacuating thousands of survivors from the great San Franciscan earthquake and fire. Her last voyage was in 1958, and remaining as the old hand-painted bar price list, which shows Coca-Cola at 5 cents and hot dogs with sauerkraut at 10. Finally, we went aboard the Medea, a Scottish boat that in her first decade prior to the outbreak of the Great War sailed the lochs and offshore islands in search of grouse and deer. She became a French man-of-war with a crew of 22 patrolling the English Channel during the First World War, and it wasn't until 1971 that she first cut through Pacific waters before coming into the hands of the Maritime Museum. For our day's swim, we decided to motor right across town to the place where all the yacht clubs had their anchorage, and when we got there we found a lot of fishermen. I suppose fishing must be one of the world's most popular sports. But what seems more important is that it doesn't have any age barriers. The beach where we decided to swim was almost private. People's gardens from Sant Antonio Avenue backed right down onto it. This was just what we wanted to finish up a very hot day in San Diego.